Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. Fantastic to see you. I hope you've had a fantastic day today, or you're having a great day right now, or you're about to have an awesome day, whatever it is. I hope it was killer and great to see you, and thank you for subscribing to the channel. There's been a huge number of subscribers. I didn't expect that the channel would take off this quickly. Really stoked about it. Now, I've just received a Facebook message and it was all about BYD hiring for jobs to sell cars in the United States. And I thought it was so important that I stopped eating my dinner here. Sorry if you are vegetarian or vegan, there is meat in there. But anyway, I stopped eating my dinner to make this video for you because honestly, I'm very surprised. Now, as many of you already know, BYD is one of the fastest growing electric vehicle companies. I'm going to call them an electric vehicle company now because about 88% of their cars that they sold in August of this year had a battery in them. So they're one of the fastest growing EV companies in the world, and things are really going crazy for them right now. Let's be honest, they're about to launch sales of a range of new vehicles that they've been developing over the past 12 months. Those include vehicles with the new 3.0 e-platform, which is an 8-in-1 e-platform. Basically, it uses BYD's new Blade battery, which is a lithium iron phosphate battery, has an 800-volt wiring. It has a range of new tech to it, which makes it a much better vehicle than BYD's old vehicles. Now, BYD have managed to significantly improve the lithium iron phosphate battery, but regardless of that, their new cars coming out on the market right now, and over the next 12 months are not only going to be sold in China, but also in many other countries around the world, including Europe, Australia, New Zealand, the UK, and we just learned the United States. BYD is coming, and if you're an automaker in America, in the United States, you should be literally pooing your pants right now because BYD's growth over the last 12 months is astronomical. BYD Europe recently tweeted, BYD successfully returned to the top 3 players of global electric vehicle sales, with a cumulative total of 60,500 NEVs sold in August globally. We've reached a 332% year-on-year increase. Thank you for all your support. This is a step towards a greener future. Electric by nature. Now let's just have a think about this for a second, right? BYD is the 4th largest battery manufacturer in the world, right? And their EV sales are absolutely exploding, and they're focusing on EVs, and EVs have become 90% of their sales. Well, electric vehicles with a battery in them at least have become 90% of their sales. They can sell their cars far cheaper than Ford, GM, probably even Tesla can, including coming with the world's safest battery. Obviously, right now, this is a very topical issue in the United States. I mean, look what's happened. General Motors built the Chevy Volt, and what happened to it? Well, they're all setting on fire, spontaneously combusting right now. Pretty bad PR for General Motors, right? All of a sudden, BYD says we can sell you a better looking car with a much, much safer battery. That'll last you for 1,000,000 kilometers of driving at least, and the battery can still be used after that. Now, if you didn't already know this, people are literally recycling electric batteries from BYD buses and using them for energy storage because they last that long. The bus wears out. What do they do with the batteries? They reuse them. That's how good lithium iron phosphate batteries from BYD are now. So BYD goes to the United States, sells their vehicles for less money with more range, and the batteries are not going to spontaneously combust. Now, I would be very scared if I was Ford, or GM, or Chrysler, or pretty much any other major manufacturer selling vehicles in the world, really. BYD's growth is astronomical, and I've been predicting this now for quite some time. But honestly, their growth over the last 3 months has even surprised me. And why does this surprise me? Well, the reason it surprised me is because, really, one key reason. BYD's new models of vehicles have been spoken about, marketed, talked about now for months, and they're not on sale yet. The new models are just being released now. Over the next few months, more models will be released, more and more models over the next 12 months of these new versions they're coming out. So this enormous growth in BYD's sales is actually coming through, the majority of these sales are coming through BYD's old vehicles with their old technology. And customers are aware of this. I mean, you'd have to be a fool not to have seen all the different press releases and the marketing, the auto show information for BYD's new vehicles. And yet, people are still buying their old models with the old tech, even though BYD are about to release a bunch of new models with new and much better technology. Now, Bridget McCarthy actually tweeted that BYD is hiring people for its passenger vehicle sales division in the United States. Now, the role says it's an after-sales support manager or supervisor, and its number one job responsibility, it's got a range of them, it's got 6 and then 4 points to the 6, so we could kind of say 9. But anyway, number one is to be responsible for formulating the business process system of after-sales service for passenger cars in the American market. So it appears as though it is, 100% likely now that BYD will be selling their vehicles in the United States. So this is really good news for you as a consumer. Not such good news for some of the automakers in the United States. Now, interestingly for this job, which is primarily for formulating the business process system of after-sales service for passenger cars in the American market. Number 2, to be responsible for establishing standards for passenger car service stores in the American market and control service stores by means of star rating and other means. So you can see what kind of job it is. And now they say what the requirements are of the job. Listen to this. Requirements. Number 1, engineering related major, bachelor degree or above, 5+ years of experience in passenger car after-sales service. So they want an engineer to work in passenger car sales service. That is interesting, isn't it? How often would you see that requirement for after-sales service? They basically want someone who knows their shit, knows what they're talking about for after-sales service. And that's a good start. Now, this was a really cool tweet. As a response to this tweet, Steve Gluck says, funny, but since January 21, BYD Co. Limited, BYDDF, BYDDY has done better price-wise than most anything else in the EV land I watch. Better than TSLA, Neo, Lucid, etc., etc. They're sitting near all-time highs while other China-centric stocks flounder. Kind of telling, it seems, and thank you for the heads up. Now, in this chart here, this stock returns chart, you can see how well different companies have done since August 26, 2020. And you can see that in first place is actually Great Wall Motors, which has, of course, their brand, their electric car brand, Aura. And interestingly, Great Wall Motors plans on selling Aura vehicles all around the world in a range of different countries. They haven't ruled out anywhere, but they've confirmed they want to come to Australia, Europe, and several other countries. You can see the market is basically, you have to sell EVs. If you're not planning for EVs, the market isn't interested in your stock. Now, in second place, BYD has returned 256.5% since August 26, 2020. So the last year, BYD stock has returned 256.5%. In third place, XPeng, which has returned 193.6%. Now, personally, if you're looking at investing in Chinese stocks, I've made a series of different videos about different companies. Now, my 3 that I'm going with right now are Tesla, BYD, and XPeng. I think XPeng's plans for the future are very good. And what I love about these 3 companies is pretty much, all 3 of them now are focusing almost 100% on electric vehicles. Now, it's interesting if you actually look down this chart and you see in 18th place is Nikola, which has a minus 73.2% return. And then Hillian with a minus 76% return. And in 17th place is Lordstown Motors with a minus 63% return. What amazes me is that people even hold shares in these companies. I mean, who is actually buying shares in Lordstown Motors and Nikola? And the funny thing is here, I remember so many comments on, there was YouTube videos warning people constantly of Nikola's impending collapse, that it was about to happen. And I remember so many smug commenters commenting on those videos, saying what was about to happen, all the problems with Nikola, and saying, no, I hold the stock, it's such a bargain. I bought it at half price now. It was up at $70 a week ago, and now it's down at $35. What a bargain. And of course, we now know what happened to those smug people who weren't interested in the value part of the stock. They weren't interested in the actual reality of what that company was doing on a day-to-day basis. Now, that's what I'm more interested in. So let's have a look at what BYD is doing on a day-by-day basis. Well, we know they're planning on releasing vehicles all over the world. They're hiring people in America. They're hiring people in Australia. They're hiring people in Europe to work to sell their cars, not just their buses, or not just their trucks, but also their cars. Now we know their product roadmap. Obviously, they've got a number of really impressive looking EVs coming out to market. And we know that those cars are going to be on price or potentially even cheaper than their ICE counterparts. Now, what else do we know? Well, we know that as of Friday the 17th of September, that Fitch assigned a AAA final rating to BYD Auto Finance's BYD Dynasty 2021-2022. So we also know that Fitch downgraded Ford to BB, outlook negative. If you're invested in Ford, time to get out, time to move on. They simply aren't investing enough in electric cars or in batteries. Yes, they're planning on making some of them, but it's not a very big percentage of their portfolio. Don't get me wrong, I love Ford vehicles. They're kind of cool, old school. You know, the Mustang Mach-E is a cool car. The Ford F150E is a cool car, and they're both new school. Obviously, they're fully electric. I reckon they're pretty impressive vehicles. Just realistically, Ford isn't planning for an electric future. And check out my video on Ford on what they plan to do by 2030. I'll put a link in the description so you can see what they're doing. So with the contrast Ford and BYD, we see one company going this way and another going that way. Now let's have a look at BYD's sales. Now in June, BYD sold more than 40,000 cars with a battery in them. In July, they sold more than 50,000 cars with a battery in them. And in August, they sold more than 60,000 cars with a battery in them. Now remember, BYD right now is basically only selling electric cars as of today in China. They sell a couple in Norway, but aside from that, really 99% of the electric car sales are in China. Just imagine what those sales numbers are going to be when they're selling them all over the world. So in the month that just happened, BYD set its third consecutive monthly passenger plug-in car sales record in China, reaching an incredible 60,500 units, and they're up 332% year over year. That's over 10,000 more than in July and over 20,000 more than in June. Now, let's have a think about this. The fourth largest battery manufacturer in the world wants to make more electric cars. They also make their own semiconductor chips. Every other car maker in the world doesn't do that, and they're struggling with building enough vehicles because they just don't have enough semiconductor chip supply. Factories all over the world have shut down temporarily, they're hoping, but who knows if it's temporary or if it's a long-term issue. We don't really know. So the two bottlenecks to making an electric car right now are battery supply and getting the semiconductor chips, which BYD happens to have plenty of both. So right now, they're going to make a bunch of new vehicles, bringing them to market. They don't have those bottlenecks, and they're about to go global. And their sales are already rapidly increasing month over month. Now, where do you realistically see this company headed to by 2030? Tell me in the comments below. I'm fascinated to hear what you think. Now, Shane Stanley, thank you very much for sending me the link to this tweet. I honestly don't think I would have ever known about this. There's no articles about this issue anywhere on the internet. It doesn't exist. Nobody's talking about it. Thanks, Shane. Appreciate that. And thank you also to Goran Carlson for the articles you've sent. Thank you to Michael Martin Anderson, you too, Stephen Wisby, Anvar Hamadovich, Daniel Chan, Wally Hindy, Steve Thompson, Jeff Newport, Brian Reed, Tanvir Singh, Uri Ben Assa, Douglas Charois, Steve Brack, Carl Wicks, Bob Hayward, Reed Jones, Brian Petit, Sylvain Xavier, Al Flo, Maiden Lepodich, Carl Knapp, Mike Shelley, Cameron Moon, Alex Horn, Jeremy O'Brien, Edward Cohn, Eddie Saunders, Horace Lim, Chris Parker, Vinod, John Lithgow, Cassidy O'Neill, Martin Eduardo, John Casamati, Henry Shapiro, Stone Agey Stone, Daniel Zmood, Spike Bike, Millie Parr, Kareem Zaguru, Wayne Cook, and Samar Javed. Now, I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm not very good with pronunciations of people from all over the world, so my apologies. But thank you to you guys for your messages. I'm sorry if I haven't responded to all of you, but I've read every one of your messages and I've actually researched everything that you've. Thank you for watching the channel. I'm looking forward to seeing you all on the next video. Bye-bye.